the mission statement for the Arapahoe County Clerk's office includes the efficient use of public funds. Today, the Arapahoe County Ethics Commission met for just the second time in 9 years. It was to investigate a complaint about the use of public funds under clerk and recorder Joan Lopez. We thought we might actually get to talk to the elusive clerk today, but just like she stiff-armed our request, she was a no-show to her ethics hearing, which she won, by the way. Here's Marshall Zellinger.
The Arapahoe County Ethics Commission meetings are open to the public.
Let's right now go around the room and everyone please say your name.
One name you won't hear as everyone introduce themselves is Joan Lopez, the Arapahoe County Clerk.
I don't see Ms. Lopez.
Lopez was the focus of an ethics complaint about her travel to an election conference this past August in Orlando.
Unfortunately, Ms. Lopez is not here to answer any of these or whatever. That was her choice.
While we want to talk with Lopez about a number of issues, like endorsing a candidate in a race her office oversaw or how she handled this past election, the commission, just like Next, did not get to ask her any questions.
We were informed at 10:22 last night that Ms. Lopez would not be appearing here today.
The commission doesn't really know why she charged the county more than $800 for a rental car that was supposed to cost $237. Lopez ultimately reimbursed the county. The commission also doesn't know why she traveled to the conference on a Friday when her classes didn't start until Monday, though Lopez did submit a 2-page statement saying in part, "On Sunday afternoon only, I went with my family to enjoy an afternoon at Universal Theme Park. There were no courses at that time. I believe this to be political attack. I have nothing to hide. I would be pleased to answer written questions."
Having somebody fail to show up and then submit a statement saying that has nothing to hide, that makes no sense to me.
Suzanne Steyert, a Republican who's running for state representative, filed the complaint, which after a couple of hours, and still no Lopez, got dismissed by the commission. The commission did determine that there are perhaps policies being violated by mistake and that the office should look closer at the policies, but not an ethics violation. It's actually the Board of County Commissioners that the commission may reach out to say, hey, we don't have power as the Arapahoe County Commission to force people to come in. Maybe you should change what we're allowed to do.
So they're talking about changing the rules for that. The question is it the norm that you just cannot show up to an ethics hearing?
Well, if this was the State Ethics Commission, which we've been talking about with former Governor John Hickenlooper, they have subpoena power, and they can force someone to come in. The Arapahoe County Ethics Commission does not have that power, which Joan Lopez did nothing wrong by not showing up. But now the commission is going to go back to the county commissioners and say, hey, if we're going to do this in the future, we've only done it twice in 9 years, but if we're going to do it in the future, maybe we should have more teeth.
Maybe it's something we can ask Clerk Lopez about at some point.
Do you know how to get a hold of her?
Working on it.
Okay.
Working on it. Thanks, Marshall. A task force could be coming to Aurora to see if police need better monitoring. Newly elected Aurora Mayor Mike Kaufman supports the start of a task force to see if the city needs an independent monitor or a commission that would look over misconduct cases, similar to the city of Denver. Now, reports obtained by 9 Wants to Know show an Aurora officer was found drunk and unresponsive while on duty in his unmarked police car months ago. 2 people called 911 because his running vehicle was sitting in the median of Mississippi Avenue near the entrance of Buckley Air Force Base back in March. 9 officers in total responded. 3 of the 9 smelled alcohol. The officer was never investigated for potential DUI. In fact, he is still on the job after receiving a warning not to do it again. There are no marijuana shops operating in Estes Park, and earlier this week, voters there decided that's how they want to keep it. They overwhelmingly voted against a measure to allow a limited number of marijuana businesses to open up in that town. Our report on that vote led to our next question from a viewer named JC. JC asks, do cities that ban cannabis sales still receive any tax money from cannabis? So we reached out to the Colorado Department of Revenue, which handles our tax money and marijuana enforcement in the state. They say local jurisdictions that opt out of marijuana businesses do not receive any marijuana tax money. There are at least 10 local jurisdictions that ban recreational marijuana sales. Colorado Springs, the state's second largest city, is one of them. As Denver has morphed over the years, so have the demographics for the homeless community. More women And women who are veterans are now homeless. Right now, there are not enough resources for those women, but our Anusha Roy is looking at how that's now changing, Anusha.
Yeah, so this all caught our attention because we started learning about how the city is going to be spending roughly $15 million set aside earlier this year to help people transition into permanent housing and improve city shelters. So Volunteers of America is now responsible for around $500,000 to transform this area into a first-of-its-kind shelter specifically for seniors and women veterans of all ages. This is really needed because the city said a third of all of the people who are homeless are women, but in the past these women weren't always accounted for.
I actually went back in my records to look from about 2001, 2002 when I first was doing some of this work, and they didn't even differentiate by gender in the HUD reports at that time.
So all that changed around a decade ago, but in the meanwhile, what happened was that a lot of shelters and resources were directed towards men, according to the city of Denver. That's why Volunteers of America sees the chance to help when this money freed up.
Although we only have 28 beds, some of those beds will turn over more quickly, some will stay much longer. And so probably 150 women will be hopefully out of the sort of mainstream homeless providing system for at least a short period of time, and many will be able to get into housing directly from here.
All right, so let's put this in perspective, right? It's a first step to address a pretty significant gap in resources. City Council will be voting whether to give the final okay before the end of the month regarding the funding and see if the plan is to open that shelter by next year.
And it sounds like more money could be coming their way.
Yeah, so the City Council ultimately was discussing around $6.9 million. I mean, they were talking about everything from how to expand services for kids to behavioral health specialists. And of course, the big question, affordable housing, because that's the other end of all of this, right, is making sure there are enough affordable housing units for people to move into.
All right. Anusha Roy, thank you very much. Ken Jones spent 20 of his 46 years on this earth working to make it safer. The Summit County firefighter and paramedic was laid to rest this morning, nearly a week after he died in the line of duty. And once again today, a grateful community came out to say a final thank you.
Carmody Cougars, thank you all. I'm so impressed with you guys.
The lesson at Carmody Middle School during second period today was one of reverence.
Radio, they're en route, I'm guessing 10-15 minutes. Remember while we're here today, okay?
A reminder that our safety can sadly come at a cost. Ken Jones knew that when he signed up to save lives. He knew that his life could be on the line to ensure that ours weren't.
There's the family.
Now these kids understand that meaning of sacrifice.
I'm just a bystander, but I just want to tell you these kids did amazing.
Thank you.
Ken Jones spent 20 years of his young life serving others instead of himself, and he gave that life doing the same, falling from a roof, fighting a fire.
We appreciate our first responders, and we need to show respect.
We'll never be able to truly thank him, but the solemn faces along Ken's final path certainly says a lot.
Life's too short. It's just, he was too young, and he sacrificed himself for the duty of being a firefighter.
Duty. Brave duty.
Very proud.
It will never be overlooked by a grateful community.
We're all there to be with him.
Jones was the first Summit Fire and EMS member to die in the line of duty in that agency's history. And may I make a recommendation? We want you to watch a documentary highlighting one of the most mysterious cold cases in Colorado history. Tonight, Dateline is taking a closer look at the murder of Tina Sandoval. She was killed more than 2 decades ago in 1995. For 22 years, there were no answers, and then her husband was arrested. But that was far from the end of this case. Now her family is fighting to keep the man who killed their sister behind bars because he will soon be eligible for parole.
You know, he was the one that was originally convicted of a life sentence when he was convicted of first-degree murder. And I feel like our family is the one with the life sentence.
Right.
Because we never get to walk away from this.
The Dateline special on Tina Sandoval will air tonight at 8 o'clock right here on 9 News. Some parents could use a little help getting Christmas gifts for their kids. That's why we have the Santa Claus shop.
This may be the only holiday gift they get for their children, and we're here to provide it.
Today it was filled with nothing but good news. People love their Christmas trees. In Colorado, some prefer Christmas bikes, and it's the most Colorado thing we've seen. Next. marathon session debating impeachment charges against President Donald Trump. The House Judiciary Committee voted this morning to send the charges to the full House for a vote. 2 Coloradans are on that committee. They voted as expected. Democrat Joan voted for the charges. Republican Ken Buck voted no. Now, today's vote does not mean President Trump has been impeached. The full House will vote on the charges. That's expected to happen next week. And that's just another step in this whole process. Some people like to call today Flashback Friday, so let's flash back to a history lesson about the impeachment process from our Chris Vanderveen.
There it is, Article 2, Section 4, impeachment. Some framers of the Constitution didn't want it in there. Others did. The others won. Impeachment always begins in the House of Representatives. A simple majority decides to impeach. If that happens, it's up to the U.S. Senate to try the case. To convict, a 2/3 vote, 67 senators in all must agree. If that happens, the president is out. Vice president is in. But that has never happened. The House voted to impeach 2 presidents, Andrew Johnson in 1868 and Bill Clinton in 1998, but the Senate acquitted both. Richard Nixon was facing almost certain impeachment in 1974 when he resigned. And while presidents have escaped official removal, some judges haven't been so fortunate. Congress has forced 8 out in its history. The last time, 2010, when the Senate, by an overwhelming majority, voted to remove Judge G. Thomas Porteous from the federal bench.
A massive storm moving into the mountains today. My goodness, these totals extremely impressive. 17 inches for the Loveland ski area, about a foot near Breckenridge, Winter Park, Steamboat, not bad at 9. And another round is on the way this evening through tomorrow. We're already starting to watch some of this snow beginning to filter in across the western slope through parts of the San Juans. Mostly cloudy skies across the metro area, but this storm means business as it continues throughout the weekend and also provides a lot of travel alerts up in the mountains. Tonight here in Denver, we stay dry, mostly cloudy, temperatures cooling off to the low 20s. We'll stay in the 20s out to the east and teens and 20s way up high. But by 11 o'clock tonight, the snowfall will become a bit more widespread. By morning, maybe 1 or 2 isolated flurries coming across the plains, but not much accumulation. Snow goes strong all day tomorrow and through the evening, and it looks like the heavier pockets of snow late Saturday night into Sunday will be positioned toward the San Juans as the storm kind of starts sinking off to the south. That's also when we have a chance for seeing a bit of snow here in Denver. Not a ton, especially when you compare it to some of these grand totals. 15 to 30 inches on top of what we've already seen. So impressive. Right now it looks like about 2 to 4 here in the city. So you'll notice less than an inch as we head toward tomorrow, but really the biggest snow arrives for us on Sunday. Tomorrow, maybe a quick shower. Temperatures around 40 degrees, 20s and 30s up in the mountains, and there it is, 28 on Sunday. So a cool start early next week, but we should bounce back to the low 50s with a bit more sunshine.
It's easy to find good news.
My good news is that some kids don't get presents and their parents can come here and surprise them with presents.
When you go to Santa's shop in Denver. What do Colfax, chicken, and billboards all have in common? This isn't leading to a punchline, just one of the best signs we've ever seen. Next. Oh, if it weren't for holiday dinner mishaps, we may not have our favorite holiday segment. It's the thought that counts. Next viewer Shannon, her family decided to share a Christmas fail with a few Colorado families. I guess a lot of people have done this. They baked a ham for Christmas. They forgot to take the plastic covering off the top of it, and they didn't learn about that mistake until it was time to eat. When they sliced into the ham, it went flying across the kitchen floor. Can you imagine just the friction that creates? Shannon says the family dog Nugget quickly ran over to investigate. We want to hear more of your holiday fails. Bonus points if you have pictures to share with us. Send them over to next@9news.com or use the hashtag HeyNext. The most Colorado thing we saw today is a holiday display fit for the Centennial State. Ladies and gentlemen, I present you a Christmas bike. Let's all gather around and sing Christmas carols. We ride them all year long, so it only makes sense that it's part of our holiday. That is why viewer Norma, that's what she was thinking when she put this baby up instead of a tree. It is complete with lights, a 2-wheeling Santa, and even a bike skirt Didn't know though they made those. What's the most Colorado thing you saw today? Email pictures to next@9news.com or get our attention with the hashtag HeyNext. It's a sign that you're definitely on Colfax Avenue in Denver. That's because anything goes when you're on Colfax, right? Like Cheba Hut's drug jokes. You get this one? That's the new sign at the sandwich shop. It creatively plays off the Natural Grocers billboard next door. Well done, Cheba Hut. Well done. We would like to know what signs made you laugh today. Email us pictures to next@9news.com. You can also, of course, get our attention with the hashtag HeyNext. Go to Denver's Santa Claus shop and you will find nothing but good news. So we went out there on the first day it opened. Next. When parents and their kids are getting free gifts for Christmas, the good news comes pretty easy. Today we stopped by Denver's Santa Claus shop for your good news.
It's a good news day here at Santa Claus shop. You're gonna see some happy faces when you come through and hear a lot of good news.
Everybody's getting presents and some people can't afford to get presents for Christmas. So this whole thing's kind of good news.
Sloths are really big right now.
My good news is I'm trying out for the soccer team.
Nobody wants this. My good news is that I got to be able to get a awesome toy for my boys.
My good news is that some kids don't get presents and their parents can come here and surprise them with presents.
These have like a bunch of cool accessories. It'll be real nice when you step on them in the middle of the night.
Take him, sell him. My good news is I get to come out here to Secret Santa and do some good things for my grandbaby. And God bless you. Thank you. Feel him. He's so soft. Feel him, it's a sloth. Feel him.
My good news is God blesses us with all these great opportunities to help our children and give a great smile on their face on Christmas morning.
Nobody wants a sloth. I like this guy. Isn't he cute?
My bad news is I lost my ID today. My good news is I'm blessed to get gifts for my children.
My good news is I got an A on the test.
My good news is I get to do this every year, and it's the highlight of my year.
Thank you. You're welcome.
That was good news. It was good news getting rid of the sloths to a really good family.
Thank you.
He looks pumped. He's getting that sloth. My good news, I got to hang out with you. We'll see you next time.